Hello, crafting friends. I'm Dorene Decibus from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and welcome to Funfold Friday. I hope you have had a great week. I'm sorry to be on a couple minutes late tonight. I have just had one of those weeks that I have not been able to get home before 6:30, 6:45 every day this week. It has just been craziness. So I just had to set up and get ready to go live. I had the project ready. I just needed to have time to get everything organized and ready to go. So I hope I haven't forgotten anything, but I'm in my craft room, so if I have, it will be super easy for me to grab it and go forth. So tonight we are making a real wow card, and I'm making a holiday card with the Season of Green and Gold Designer Series paper and the Peaceful Seasons bundle. This bundle goes with the Season of Elegance Designer Series paper from the Season of Elegance Suite collection, from the new mini catalog. And it has paper of a variety of different colors that have these beautiful gold accents on the paper. We're not using that paper tonight. We're using my favorite Season of Green and Gold paper, but I just wanted to point that out that we do have that paper as well. So the Peaceful Season is all greetings, and that is perfect for tonight's card. It has many sentiments that you can put inside the card and many sentiments that you can put outside the card. So this is a photopolymer stamp set, so you can see it has, well, let me just look at that again. It has 19 sentiments. So this is definitely a great bargain for a stamp set. And inside the dies, we have the Christmas that we can die cut, a backing to the Christmas, and then all of these great labels for the different sentiments. So it is a really fun bundle, and one that we will get a lot of use out tonight, and we'll mount all of these stamps we're going to use in a little bit. I'm just going to set that to the side. This is the card we're going to make tonight. I am going to make it just a tad different with these two pieces, and I'll show you that in just a minute. But this is called, are you ready? It is called a floating panel accordion fun fold card, and I have closed it with a belly band. You don't need a belly band to make this card, but I wanted to add the belly band. I wanted to have most of the decoration of the card on the belly band. So I'm going to take the belly band off, so we just have this beautiful tag that I have made with the elements from the Season of Green and Gold suite, and I have cut out some of the different elements from the Designer Series paper and the gold foil. And then this is the card. And these are the floating panels. So if I open it this way, this is what you're going to see on the inside of the card. And if I stand it up, you're going to see how it's going to stand on a mantle or a table or a counter, and you're going to have those three distinct layers of the card. So it is a really beautiful card and has a lot of steps and a lot of panels that we're going to be cutting for this. And I'm going to keep this right by my side to help me as I put it together. And let me just go over what we need. So let's just separate some of these pieces. And good, put some of these together so I can keep them together. And we have, there we go, this. And okay, so let's start with the garden green. We have a piece of garden green cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 9 1/2, and we're going to be scoring this in 4 different places. Then we have 2 pieces of cardstock that measures 3 by 3 1/8. So we have, this is the 3 1/8 side, this is the 3 side. And we're going to be scoring this along as well. We are going to have 2 pieces of the same garden green cardstock that measures 2 1/4 by 3 1/4. We're going to have 2 more pieces that measure 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then we're going to have a piece of garden green that measures 1 inch by 11 inches. And I have used the plaid embossing folder to emboss this. And let me just kind of shine the light a little more on that and show you what that looks like. So that's one of the changes I've made, was to emboss this. So instead of having the really plain belly band, I've embossed it. And then I have a square that measures 2 1/4 by 2 1/4, and I have embossed this as well. So those are the 2 little changes I'm making on tonight's card. So that's all of our green. I am going to move the pieces that don't have to be scored away, and then we're going to talk about some of our other pieces. You're going to need a scrap of very vanilla cardstock to cut this tag, and this tag came out of the Season of Green and Gold bundles that go with that. Those bundles, the dies that go with those bundles. So you'll need a scrap to cut that. And then you're going to need a piece of 4 inches by 5 1/4 inch piece of very vanilla, and we're going to be stamping the inside of this. So both of these are going to be stamped. So let me just put those aside. Then, you know how I love layers. I think you know how I love layers. So anyway, we have a lot of layers, and we're going to be using some of our gold foil cardstock. So this piece measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 inches. Then we have 2 pieces that measure 2 5/8 by 3 5/8. And then we have 2 pieces that measure 2 1/8 by 3 1/8. And then some scraps that I cut the boughs with. And you could actually, I didn't hear, but you actually could cut the boughs right out of these background pieces, any of these background pieces, because you're going to cover them up. And that is a way to save on cardstock. And then finally we have, oh, and we have one other small piece of the gold foil, 2 3/8 by 2 3/8. And then we have our designer series paper. So we're going to have one piece here that measures 1/2 inch by, I believe it's 5 3/8. Let me just double check that. No, 5 1/4. So we have that piece. And then we have the 2, we have 4 pieces, 2 of each sizes, that actually make up our layers that measure. 2 are 2 inches by 3 inches, and 2 are 2 1/2 by 3 1/2 inches. So that is all of that. And then I have cut some of the pieces from the designer series paper. So I have here one of the boughs with the gold on it. I have the pair of bells that are together. A couple pieces of, 1 piece of vellum and 1 piece of the paper that has the gold in it. And then I cut 2 of the boughs. All right, we're going to use it all. It's a lot, but this is a pretty spectacular card. So let's start with our, I'm going to get out my scoring board and get our paper out. Make sure you can see this so it's positioned okay. So starting with my piece that measures 4 1/4 by 9 1/2, we are going to be scoring this at 1 inch, 2 inch, 7.5, and 8.5. So this is my 9.5 inch side, and I am going to score at 1 inch and 2 inches, and then at 7.5 and 8.5. Now I will tell you, if I was using my paper cutter, I could have turned this back and forth. It's really from each end at 1 inch and 2 inches. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. Now here I have my 3 1/8 piece, but I want this to be at my 3 inch piece so that I can score it on the 3 inch side. And this scoring is going to be really easy too. I'm going to score at 1 inch and 2 inches. These are going to be, I'm going to be referring to these as my mechanism as we're going through. These are also going to extend the card. So that is why I need them. So they're an important piece. So the second one is also going to be scored at 1 inch and 2 inch. Okay, these two pieces are done for right now. We've got to do a little cutting now on our larger piece. So let me put my score blade aside. And what I am going to be doing, I'm only going to do this on one side, so it doesn't matter which side it is, but it has to be done at on one side on both ends. So I'm going to stand to do this so I can see everything pretty clearly. I am going to put this at the 1/2 inch mark. So notice I can measure on the side all the way to 1.5 inches, or I can measure in this way. But to do something and having most of the cardstock hanging off of the edge of the trimmer is a little more challenging than to have the whole piece of cardstock on the trimmer. So I have put this at 1/2 inch, and I am going to be cutting down to the first score line. So I'm going to take this, and my trimmer has little marks on the side, and so I can see where that score line is lined up to that mark. Then I'm going to pick this up, and I'm going to bring it down to the other score line, and I'm going to make that cut as well. So I have these two little flaps that I have cut. Okay, the next part is going to be easier to do with my scissors. So I have cut these little 1/2 inch marks down to 1 inches. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to trim this going at an angle to the other score line. So I want to have this little shape here. And then I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to turn it over because it's easier for me to cut in that direction. So now I have this piece where it has made the fold. So on my sample that I showed you, you can see that right here. You can see where that fold, where that cut came down. Okay, so let's get back to this. So I am going to do some folding and burnishing now. And I'm just going to open that up so I get the flat part. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay, so we have, this is our first part, but remember we need to extend this out. So that's where these pieces are going to come in handy. So I'm going to just score these. I'm going to fix it afterwards to be scored the way I want it to be scored, but it doesn't matter right now with our making. I just want it scored so I can play with it afterwards. All right, so as I said, these pieces are going to be extending. So let me show you on this card just to give you an idea of seeing. So this piece here is that original piece. But what I need to do is add this piece on top of this piece to have it come out. So I'm going to have the fold look like this. So this is going to go and match up right with this panel here, so that when it closes, we have something that looks like this. So it's going to look like this piece here, where we have that edge coming down, then we have this piece folding down in front of it. Okay, so let's line that up. And then what we're going to be doing is these bigger pieces are going to be lining up in here, and then the smaller piece is going to line up in here, so that when we pull it open, we'll have this here and this here, sort of like that. Okay, so let's see. Don't want to make any mistakes tonight, so let's here and here. Just looking at my notes again. So I'm going to add some adhesive. I'm going to put it on lightly because I don't want to turn anything around. So I'm going to be adding this to this edge, but I don't want to cover the total crease mark because that is going to, that would prevent us from folding this afterwards. So it's just going to go to that edge piece. And again, I'm putting it so we have the, it's going to be the mountain fold, the valley fold right there. Okay, so like I said, I've put that on fairly so that it's going to fold like this, and we see those different heights of the pieces. Okay, so let's start working on some of the pieces. So on the inside, let's do some stamping. I am going to use, let's see, I haven't made this for so long. We're going to use actually two different stamps. We're going to use Wishing You and Yours, and then A Season of Wonder and Happiness. So let's grab those. So this one is Wishing You Wonder and Happiness. So let me just get this mounted onto a block. There we go. Looks straight. And then the other one we're using is A Season of Happiness and Wonder. I like how you can use these stamp sets together. Wishing You and Yours. There we go. So now we're going to use our Garden Green ink. Now I could also use Cherry Cobbler. I think I'm going to use Garden Green on the front and Cherry Cobbler on the inside for this one, just to change it up a little bit. So I'm going to ink up my first one, and I'm going to actually ink up the other one. I'm going to do my bottom one first because I think it will be easier to put the top one over it. So we've got A Season of Wonder and Happiness. There we go. And then we're going to stamp right above it, Wishing You and Yours. So once we're done stamping, it kind of looks like just a one stamp, one block of one image. All right, so next I'm going to put the piece of designer series paper going, which way do I want it? I think this way. I'm going to put this right across the bottom. It is one of the things I love to do inside the card is put some matching designer series paper inside. So I'm going to add my adhesive and grab my card, and I am going to mount it on its piece of gold paper. And this is why I said you can cut those gold boughs or anything else you need to from these larger pieces so you don't waste your gold paper. And I just want to make sure this is even, and it's not looking as even to me, so let me just readjust that. There, that looks a lot better. Now I can add my adhesive to the back, and we're going to put that right on the inside of the card. And already it is looking beautiful. Okay, there's our first part of our card. Now let's be doing some other mounting, and then we'll stamp our other greeting. So all of our pieces of designer series paper are going to go onto a piece of gold. I have not made a card I have disliked in any way with this designer series paper. It has just, it just makes it so beautiful. Oops, let's get the right piece. So we've got the green and gold in the designer series paper, and then we're mounting it on gold and green paper, and it just looks beautiful. I must be missing a light because my computer screen looks a little dark. Okay, there's the first one. Let's get another one done. Our other little one. And then we just need to stamp the sentiment for the front and start putting this all together. You know, like I said, this has many moving pieces to it and lots of things that you're going to be adding to it. So this, again, would not be a Christmas card I would want to make 50 of. It would be a lot of work. So this is definitely one of those cards that you're going to send to a very special person in your life. And I know we all have those people who deserve something that's just taken a little bit more effort on our part. You just putting that on straight. Remember, the adhesive will be okay to remove when you're, right after you've first put it down, and then you can, work to get it exactly lined up the way you want. So if you make a little mistake, just don't wait hours before you try to fix it. And then you should. Now the liquid glue is a little bit less friendly when it comes to fixing it. So that's just something to know. Probably the part of this card that will take the longest is cutting everything and all the different pieces for it. But like I said, it'll be worth it in the end. Okay, so now we have our piece of green that's actually going to be mounted on a piece of gold, and this is going to be our focal point for the front of the card, and that's really the main reason I added the embossing folder, because I just felt the paper was just a little too plain. So what I'm going to do for this is, let me just spread everything out. So I have all of these different parts I can add, and these are extra. These were not on my first label, but I just wanted to have more options to play with this time. So I'm going to start by putting my pieces, and I'm actually going to, because you're not going to see the top, so I can get more of the bow in, I'm going to just cut the stem off a little bit so that I don't have to worry about that part. And I want to place this so that they are coming off the bottom left and the bottom right corners. So that's what that part's going to look like. Then originally I had put this right down the middle, and I had put the bell on dimensionals hanging from this, and this looks really good. I don't know, now that I'm looking at it, if I really want to add anything else. I think it's just going to take away from it, so I'm going to put those away and just add these pieces, and then stamp our greeting and put that on. So I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive in different places on this, and I'm going to attach it. I could also use glue dots if I wanted to. There we go. This piece, our bow, is also going to go on. And so I'm going to put that right in the middle. And I'm just going to trim that stem just a little bit so it won't hang over. And then I'm going to put some dimensionals on my bells. I just love the options with this designer series paper and all the patterns and the stamping you can do that match. It is just, I love it. And then I'm going to place this right in the center. There we go. And I'm going to add some gems. So the gems I'm using for this are, actually I'm going to add these after I do the sentiment. So let's stamp the sentiment first. And I'm using the Joy and Love to You. And I don't really want the end of the tag. I'm not going to be adding ribbon or anything to it. So I'm going to just stamp it down at this end, and then I'm going to cut it. So I'm going to just let that sit on my mat and then attach it. And I'm going to use the garden green ink on the front. And then I am going to just line this up and stamp. What's really nice with the photopolymer stamps is that it allows you to stamp straight and right where you want it to be, because of you can see through them. So that's always a nice thing. Okay, I don't want to ruin my card at this point, so let's put this down. And this is going to be going right across the bottom of the square. So I'm just going to cut it a little before the J. And then I'm just going to add some seal to the back of it and add this right at the bottom of the square. Okay, there we go. Now I can add the berries. So this is the cherry cobbler and pearl adhesive packed berries. So in the package you're going to have 64 different berries that you can use, and you'll see that some are cherry and some are a clearer type of berry, and the clear takes the color of the cardstock below it. We're going to use the berry ones here, so let me just grab something to pick these up with. I'm going to use the ones that are 3 together, and I'm going to be putting them on the different boughs that are here on the front of the card. And I'm going to put one a little lower and go right on 2. So this is what our finished front set of elements that will go on the belly band, just so you can see the whole thing. Okay, put that aside, put my berries aside. Let's start doing some of this card. So this is the tricky part because we want everything to fit. So, and it's going to look like you're going to want to put the panel here on the card, but it actually goes on the further one out. So I'm going to open this up flat to do this. So our 2 larger panels are going to come right down to this part. Notice on the front of the card, you're still going to be able to see where I cut off, so you'll be able to see some of that green. And then this one is going to fold over, and the smaller one is going to match right up with that. So that's what the front of our card is going to look like. So I am only going to be putting my adhesive on this panel here. So I'm actually not even going to put it on the back of this. I want it to be able to attach easily. So I don't want to put this all the way. I want to keep it a little bit away from that score line, but I want it even with the top and the bottom. And the same thing with this, I am going to want the smaller piece. This piece is a little higher. As you can see, it's just, maybe you can see it better on this, it's just a wee bit higher. So again, that's another good reason to put your adhesive right along this panel so that you don't have extra adhesive on the back of your card. Okay, so that's going to fold. Oops, I did it. Yeah, that's right. I put the wrong side on. So what you have to make sure, that's what I did very sillily. I knew I would make a mistake. You have to put the right edge of this along the closing. So when it's opened up, you have it looking like this, and then when it closes, it looks like that. Okay? So we're going to do the same thing over here. So this piece, like we did here, is going to go on this panel right here. So it's going to go in like this, and then this one goes out. So it's this left side is going to go on this, so that when it's open it will look like that. So let's add those pieces. So I plan my my Fun Fold Fridays like a month in advance, and then I have to remember how I made them and not make any silly mistakes. But that's why it's good that you can pull the card off, pull pieces off the adhesive. Okay, so I have done this the same. So now this is going to close like that. And I just want to make sure it's folding evenly so I can bring back in my bone folder if it's not. And you should have these pieces in the middle come together nicely. Okay, so there's our card. So it's going to look like this one opened. It's going to stand. I might have to play with folding it a little bit. There it goes, to stand evenly. Now we're going to make our belly band. So when you make a belly band, because the paper's only 11 inches, I could only cut it to 11 inches. And you're going to see when I wrap this around, it is not going to come right to the middle. So what I'm going to do is use my tag to hold this together. So I'm going to take some of my glue dots, dimensionals, and I am actually going to, I think I can fit 2 sets of glue dots. So dimensionals. If I call it glue dots once, I'm going to call it the rest of the night. So here's one pair, and then right next to it, I am going to put another pair. And these dimensionals are going to hold our belly band in place and allow it to come off and on. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. You want to make sure that you're not making your belly band super tight, because if you do that, you might have difficulty pulling your belly band on and off. I just love this card. And I'm already loving that I embossed because when I look at the back now, the back is just that embossing makes all of the difference. So I want to make sure they're coming together evenly. There we go. So, and I want to make sure I can still slide. All right. So I am going to take these pieces off. Maybe, maybe not. And you're going to have 2 really sticky sides. All right. So we're going to close this, and I'm going to hold it together, and I want this centered onto my front of the card, and I want my belly band centered horizontally as well. So that looks good. And now I want to place this so it's 50-50. And there we go. What a great card. I really love this. And I love the changes that I made with the embossing. So let me hold it up close so that you can clearly see it. Get the light really shining on it. There you can see the front. I'll bring it down a little bit. Get it? I'm so bad at this. All right, there we go. A little better. So there's the front, and you can see the difference that the embossing makes. And I can just slide this back and forth so it will slide on and off. And there is a fabulous Christmas card, fun fold. So again, this is called the Floating Panel Accordion Fold Card with a belly band, and show you the inside again. I did mine in red for tonight's broadcast, but this is what the cards look like. And of course we have another belly band here. I hope you've enjoyed this card and tonight's video, and remember to like my page, follow my page, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will be putting all of the measurements and all of the score lines, score marks in the comments, and I will put them in the description at on my YouTube channel. So I hope you make it. If you make one, please post a picture in the comments. I'd love to see what you come up with. There's lots of designer series paper and sentiments you could use for a card like this. So I will be back Sunday night for our 4th edition of Regal Floral. We have 2 weeks left of that since the month is coming fast to a close. And of course, I will be back next Friday night with, if I keep to my plans, it is going to be an incredible wow card. So thanks for joining me tonight, and I hope to see you soon. Good night, everyone. Have a fabulous week.